Young Heiress wakes up from coma and is in shock to see who is by her side. It can't be. Is it really you? The impact is so strong that she almost faints again. Before we start, be sure to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. To not miss exciting stories like this one, leave your like and come with us. The first thing Emma Bennett felt was the weight of her own body. As if she had been asleep for years, her chest rose and fell slowly, accompanying the rhythmic sound of a heart monitor. She tried to open her eyes, but the bright light made her head throb. Her throat was dry, her mouth bitter. That's when she heard a voice. "Emma, can you hear me?" She blinked a few times, trying to focus her vision on who was beside her. At first, everything seemed blurry, but slowly the outlines of her face began to form. Her heart, still weak, started to race. It was impossible. It couldn't be real. The image before her was of Caleb, the face she never thought she would see again. Her body reacted before her mind. Emma tried to sit up, but the sudden movement made the world spin. A frantic beep filled the room, and her breathing became labored. "Emma, calm down! Breathe deeply!" the male voice insisted, holding her arm firmly. She blinked once more, now seeing clearly. The man in front of her was identical to Caleb. The same intense gaze, the same face shape, the same worried demeanor. But Caleb was dead. She was sure of it. The confusion and shock was so strong that her body gave way and everything went dark once again. Before the accident, Emma Bennett was a woman who carried a heavy surname and a preordained destiny. The only daughter of Jacob Johnson, a hotel magnate, she never had the option to choose her own path. Since childhood, her father molded her to be the perfect heiress, determined, disciplined, and prepared to take over the family empire. But perfection came at a cost. Emma always lived surrounded by luxury, but she never knew what freedom was. Work and her father's demands occupied every minute of her life. Friends, only those allowed by the surname Bennett. Love, there was never time for that, except for Caleb. Caleb had been the only exception, the only one who made her feel something real. He was her first love, her refuge in adolescence. But everything ended tragically. An accident, a fatality that took him away forever. Emma never allowed herself to love again after his death. And now, waking up from a coma, she saw Caleb's face before her. But how was this possible? Hours later, when she woke up again, the light in the room was no longer so bright. Her head still throbbed, but her mind was more alert. She felt a weight in her hand and turned her face. He was still there. This time, Emma didn't try to sit up. She just looked at that familiar face, trying to understand what was happening. "Who are you?" Her voice came out hoarse, barely recognizable. The man smiled slightly, relieved to see her awake. "My name is Nathan. I'm a nurse here at the hospital." She frowned. Nathan? So he wasn't Caleb, but how could he be so identical? I know you." Her breathing became heavy. "This doesn't make sense." He hesitated for a moment as if he didn't know what to say. "You must be confused. You were unconscious for a long time." Emma couldn't take her eyes off him. Every detail of his face, the way he spoke, how he looked at her. It was as if Caleb were there, sitting beside her. "How long?" she asked, still trying to organize her thoughts. 3 months. You had a severe accident. Your car rolled over, and you fell into a coma. But now you are safe. 3 months. 3 months erased from her life, and now the first thing she saw upon waking was Caleb's face. "No, Nathan." Her heart raced again. "You..." Emma took a deep breath. "Do you have a twin brother?" The question seemed to catch him off. "God!" Nathan became serious, as if that idea had never crossed his mind. "No, at least, not that I know." Emma felt a shiver. If he didn't know, then something was very wrong with this story. "I need to know who you really are." His eyes sparkled with something that looked like confusion, or maybe fear. What Emma still didn't know was that her life was about to change forever. The silence between Emma and Nathan seemed to weigh tons. Her breathing was unstable, her mind was boiling with questions that overlapped, and the only thing that made sense was his face. That face. "Emma, I know you must be scared." His voice was calm, but there was a tension in his gaze. "I promise I'm here to help." But she couldn't believe that. Time seemed to have knotted itself. She felt as if she was 17 again, in love with Caleb, living that forbidden love, hidden from family obligations. But Caleb died. The pain of that thought made her blink hard, forcing herself to face reality. Nathan was someone different. He had to be, but then why was the feeling of déjà vu so suffocating? "You don't understand," Emma murmured, still feeling weak. "You are the exact copy of someone I loved. This can't be a coincidence." Nathan froze. She saw surprise cross his face for a moment, but soon he averted his gaze as if he needed to process what he had just heard. Emma tried to move in bed, but every muscle ached as if it were covered in lead. The effort made her let out a low groan, and Nathan reacted immediately. "Hey, don't push your body. You're still recovering." His touch on her arm was gentle, but Emma felt a jolt run through her skin. She held her breath. It was the same touch, the same warmth, but it couldn't be. Nathan subtly pulled back, noticing her reaction. "I'm going to call the nurse. You need water and probably a doctor to assess your recovery." He got up, but in a moment of impulse, Emma grabbed his wrist. "No, don't go." Nathan stopped. Their eyes met, and for a moment, the whole world seemed suspended between them. Emma couldn't explain it, but something inside her screamed that if he left, he might never come back, and she needed answers. "Tell me this isn't a dream." Her voice broke. "Tell me I'm not imagining things." Nathan hesitated. "I am real, Emma," but that answer wasn't enough. Time passed slowly in the hospital. Emma underwent tests, closely monitored by the medical team, and her body was finally beginning to adjust to waking life. But her mind was trapped in Nathan. Every time he entered the room, bringing medication or just checking on her recovery, her heart ached. He was kind, professional, but something in his gaze revealed he was also intrigued. And then came the coincidence that changed everything. Emma woke in the middle of the night, feeling her mouth dry. She turned slowly to reach for a glass of water on the bedside table, and when she did, her eyes landed on a nearly imperceptible detail. A silver necklace that emerged from Nathan's shirt pocket, hanging by a fine chain. The shock was instantaneous. She recognized that necklace. Her heart raced, and before she could think, her hand stretched out and grasped the chain, pulling it closer to see better. Nathan jumped, startled by her sudden movement. "Emma, what are you doing?" But she had already seen. The pendant was a small broken watch, stopped at exactly 7 hours and 32 minutes. The same time Caleb died. Her world spun. "Where did you get this?" Her voice came out choked, almost breathless. Nathan touched the necklace, confused. I've always had it, since I can remember." Emma felt her blood run cold. Caleb wore that exact necklace the day of the accident. She remembered because she had given it to him as a gift. But after he died, the necklace was never found, and now it was there, around Nathan's neck. She tried to take a deep breath, but her vision began to blur. Her body trembled. "Emma." Nathan moved closer, worried, but she couldn't say anything, because at that moment she knew the truth about Nathan was far greater than anything she could imagine. The hospital room seemed to shrink around Emma. Her chest rose and fell quickly, the rapid heartbeats causing the heart monitor to beep. Nathan crouched beside her, holding her arm firmly. "Breathe, Emma, you need to calm down." But how could she calm down? How was it possible that Necklace was with him? Her body trembled. The memories returned like a hurricane. The day of Caleb's accident, the broken watch that was never found, the searches, the months of mourning. She knew that it had been swallowed by time, just like him. But now Nathan was there, holding that necklace as if it were just any accessory. "Did you always have this?" Emma repeated, her voice coming out choppy. Nathan frowned. He looked at the pendant in his hand, as if he were seeing it for the first time. "Yes." His voice carried uncertainty. "I've had it since I was little. I don't even remember where it came from." Emma closed her eyes for a moment, trying not to panic. It was too much of a coincidence, or maybe it wasn't a coincidence. She felt Nathan's hand holding hers, trying to calm her. His touch was warm, real. She swallowed hard. "Nathan." Her voice was now a thread. "Tell me you're sure about who you are." He was silent. The question seemed absurd, but at the same time it made sense. Nathan felt a shiver run down his neck. He knew exactly who he was. Or did he? He stepped back, trying to organize his thoughts. "What do you mean by that?" Emma took a deep breath. "I need to know more. About you, about your family, about where you came from." He looked visibly uncomfortable. "I was adopted as a baby. My parents have always been my family. There's nothing to discover." Emma's eyes widened. "Adopted?" Nathan nodded. "Yes. My mother never hid that from me, but I never sought to know more. I never felt the need." Emma's heart started beating, so hard it felt like it would burst from her chest. Caleb never mentioned a twin brother. His parents never said anything about it. But what if they hid it? What if Nathan was... She closed her eyes tightly, trying to push away that insane thought, but everything made sense. The eerie resemblance, the necklace, the fact that Nathan had been adopted and didn't know his origin. Emma felt dizzy. If Nathan really was Caleb's brother, it meant he never knew about his own brother's existence. It meant his whole life had been a lie. "I need to get out of here," she murmured. Nathan looked at her, surprised. "What? Emma? You're still recovering? I need to get out of here." Her voice came out louder than she intended. Nathan stepped back. Emma started to struggle, pulling at the wires that held her to the machine. The noise of the heart monitor increased. Nathan tried to hold her. "Stop! You're going to hurt yourself." But Emma couldn't stop. She needed to get out of that hospital. She needed to uncover the truth. At that moment, the door to the room opened, and the nurse rushed in. "What's going on here?" Nathan stepped back, visibly shaken. Emma felt firm hands holding her and heard the nurse's voice trying to calm her. "You need to rest, Emma. Please." But how could she rest? After that, the last thing she saw before passing out was Nathan standing by the door, with a look full of doubts he knew he needed to face. 2 days later, Emma stared at the white hospital ceiling. The room was silent, except for the occasional beep of the monitors around her. Her father's visit had been brief. Jacob Johnson had never been a man to show emotions, but the relief on his face when he saw her awake was impossible to hide. He stayed there for exactly 15 minutes, saying he had arranged for the best doctors and wanted to see her out of the hospital as soon as possible. There wasn't an "I missed you." There wasn't a "How are you?" Emma didn't expect more than that. But what truly bothered her was Nathan's silence. Since the crisis he hadn't returned to the room. He didn't bring any more medicine, didn't check her vital signs. He had vanished, and Emma knew the reason. He was investigating. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the hospital, Nathan typed the name Caleb Vasconcelos into the hospital reception computer. His heart raced. He had never heard that name before Emma mentioned it, but something inside him burned with curiosity. He needed to know. The search loaded. The first thing that appeared was an old news piece. 17-year-old dies in motorcycle accident. Caleb Vasconcelos did not survive his injuries and died at the scene. Friends and family mourned the sudden loss. Nathan felt a chill run down his spine as he clicked on the photo attached to the news. It was like looking in a mirror. His breath caught. This couldn't be happening. He swallowed hard and began to scroll through the article, searching for anything that could explain this madness. It was then that he found a detail that made his stomach churn. Caleb was the only son of business owners William and Olivia Brown. Nathan frowned. If he and Caleb were brothers, that meant the Brown family had lied about having only one child. What if Emma was right? What if he had been separated from Caleb as a baby? Nathan's blood ran cold. He felt a knot in his throat. He abruptly rose from the chair and walked down the hallway aimlessly. Everything inside him screamed that his entire life could have been built on a lie, and he needed the truth, even if it hurt. In the room, Emma continued looking at the ceiling, waiting. Because deep down, she knew Nathan would return. And when that happened, nothing would be the same as before. The clock on the wall showed 3 o'clock in the morning when Emma heard the bedroom door slowly open. She was already awake, staring at the cold white ceiling, trying to process everything that had happened in the past few days. Her mind was a whirlwind of disordered thoughts, and sleep seemed like something distant, impossible to reach. When her eyes met Nathan's, standing in the doorway, Emma felt a tightness in her chest. He was different. He was not the same man who held her hand and told her to calm down when she woke up from the coma. Nathan entered slowly, closing the door behind him as if he needed a moment to find the right words. His face was pale, his eyes deep-set, and his hands were balled into fists at his sides. Emma knew in that instant that he had discovered the truth. "You were right." His voice came out hoarse, almost a whisper. Emma swallowed hard, feeling her throat dry. "About what?" Nathan let out a weak laugh, but there was no humor there. He pulled the armchair next to the bed and sat down slowly, as if every movement required an enormous effort. "I have a twin brother." The confirmation fell on Emma like an impossible weight to bear. She felt her whole body freeze, even though she was covered by the sheets. "Caleb." He nodded slowly, running his hands over his face, as if he were still trying to understand it all. "I spent the whole day trying to piece things together, but none of it makes sense to me. How could I have gone my entire life without knowing this? How could my mother hide something like this from me?" Emma wanted to have an answer, but all she could do was listen. "When I left here, I went straight home." Nathan took a deep breath, resting his elbows on his knees, looking at the floor. "I sat in front of my mother and asked her point blank, 'Do I have a twin brother?'" He paused, as if he could still see the scene in his mind. Her face went pale. I'd never seen her so scared. She tried to deny it, said I was delirious, that I must have been tired from work. But I didn't give up. I told her I already knew, that I had seen the news, the photos, that I had found the name of the Vasconcelos family. Emma held her breath. "And then?" Nathan closed his eyes for a moment before answering. She began to cry. Silence filled the room. "My mother never cries. Never. She has always been strong, always hidden any weakness." But there, sitting in front of me, she broke down. Emma felt a chill run down her spine. Nathan took a deep breath before continuing. She said that Caleb and I were separated at birth. The confirmation of something Emma had already suspected did not make it any less shocking. "But why?" Nathan shook his head. "I asked that. She just repeated that it was better this way. That it was the right thing to do." Emma felt a lump in her throat. That doesn't make sense. He let out a humorless laugh. None of this does. His eyes were filled with hurt, with doubts, with a weight that now seemed unbearable. Emma hesitated for a moment before asking, "And your father?" Nathan remained still. "What about him?" She swallowed hard. "Have you never wondered why your mother raised you alone?" He looked away. "She always told me that my father left before I was born, that he never wanted to know about me." Emma's heart raced. But what if that's not the truth? Nathan remained silent. That possibility had never crossed his mind. His mother had always been the only family he had known. The idea that she could be hiding something so big seemed absurd. But now everything seemed possible. "Emma," his voice came out lower, almost hesitantly. "Do you think that my mother stole one of us?" The question hung in the air. Emma's gaze met his, and neither of them dared to look away. Until then, the idea of a clerical error, a mistake in the adoption, seemed the only possible explanation. But now another possibility arose, one that changed everything. "I don't know," Emma finally answered. "But I know that someone lied to you." Nathan's eyes sparkled with a mix of anger and pain. "And I will find out who it was." The tone of his voice made Emma shiver. She knew that Nathan was about to open doors that had been locked for a long time, and she feared what he would find on the other side. The night was long for Emma Bennett. Even after Nathan left the room, her mind continued to be restless, spinning endlessly around that revelation. He and Caleb were twins. They were separated at birth. Nathan never knew. But why? She tried to seek answers within herself, sifting through every memory she had of Caleb, trying to find any clue that indicated he knew or suspected something. But there was nothing. To Caleb, he had always been an only child. Emma sighed and turned in bed, ignoring the slight pain she still felt in her body. The hospital was quiet at that hour. The only sound was the occasional beep of the monitors and the distant hum of the fluorescent lights. She knew Nathan would not accept this story passively. He would investigate until he found the truth. And that scared her, because something told her that this truth was much worse than they imagined. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, Nathan entered the house feeling a tightness in his chest. The silence of the apartment seemed even more oppressive than the hospital. Every corner of that place now felt strange to him, as if it belonged to someone else and not to him. He took off his shoes and went straight to his mother's room. She was sitting on the edge of the bed, her hands clasped in her lap, as if she had been waiting for him. Her red eyes revealed that she had been crying. "You didn't give up, did you?" she said softly. Nathan crossed his arms, feeling his anger rise. "Did you really think I would forget this?" The woman closed her eyes for a moment before sighing. "I knew this day would come, but I didn't want it to come like this." Nathan frowned. "Like what? With me finding everything out on my own? Being forced to understand that my whole life has been a lie?" She raised her gaze to him, but did not say anything. "Mom, tell me the truth. Why was I separated from my brother?" That was the question that had not left his mind since he found out about Caleb. Nathan's mother swallowed hard. "I can't." "What do you mean you can't?" She looked away, clutching her hands in her lap. "Because the truth is dirty. It's painful. It will change everything you think about me, about yourself." Nathan's patience was wearing thin. "I don't care. I need to know." The woman took a deep breath and slowly got up from the bed. She walked to an old drawer, opened it, and took out a time-worn envelope. "This is all that is left of that time." Nathan hesitantly took the envelope. As he opened it, he found an old photo. It was a baby with big eyes and dark hair, wrapped in a blue blanket. He frowned. "Who is this?" His mother took a deep breath before answering. You. Nathan felt a chill run down his spine. He turned the photo over and noticed something written on the back. William and Olivia Carter, 1989. Nathan felt the ground disappear beneath him. William and Olivia Carter, Caleb's parents. No, he murmured, feeling his blood run cold. This is a mistake. His mother began to cry silently. It's not a mistake, my son. Nathan's breathing quickened. You took me away from them. The woman sobbed, covering her mouth with her hands as if she couldn't bear to hear it spoken aloud. Nathan felt a bitter taste in his mouth. You stole me from them? His mother quickly raised her head, her eyes brimming with tears. It wasn't like that. Nathan's heart beat so hard that he thought he might faint. He closed his eyes for a moment, trying to find logic in that madness. Then how was it? His voice came out lower now, but filled with rage. The woman trembled. Your father, William Carter, he promised me he would stay with me. He promised me he would protect us, that we would build a life together. But when Olivia found out he had another woman, her voice faltered. She demanded he choose. Nathan froze. You were his mistress? His mother nodded slowly, tears streaming down her face. Yes, that was a punch in the gut. Nathan brought his hand to his head, trying to process everything. And then, what happened? The woman closed her eyes. Olivia couldn't accept that there was another child. But William didn't want to give up either of us, so an agreement was made. She looked at Nathan, her eyes pleading for him to understand. Caleb would stay with them. You would stay with me. Nathan felt his legs weaken. His whole life, everything he believed, everything had been decided before he was even born. You never wanted to tell me? The woman shook her head. I wanted to protect you, son. I knew that if you found out, you might want to seek out that family. But they never looked for you. They never wanted to know about you. Nathan closed his eyes, feeling a knot tighten in his throat. It all made sense now. Caleb's parents never mentioned a twin brother because they never wanted to accept him. He was the secret they erased, the other half that should never have existed. He was never abandoned. He was discarded. The anger rose like a flame within him. I need to get out of here, he said, his voice cold. His mother stood up quickly. Nathan, please don't do this. He was already heading for the door. I'm going after them. I'm going after the Carter family. And I will uncover this damn truth, with or without your help. His mother began to cry harder. Son, please don't go. But he was already outside, walking aimlessly down the dark hallway of the apartment. His heart was pounding so hard that he could barely breathe. He took out his phone and dialed Emma's number. When she answered, her voice was sleepy. Nathan. He swallowed hard before responding. I found out everything. The silence on the other end lasted a few seconds, and then Emma whispered, What are you going to do now? He looked at the dark sky through the building's window. The anger surged within him, and then with a firm and determined voice, he replied, I'm going to them, and this time no one would stop him. The sun had not yet risen when Emma Bennett arrived at the entrance of the hospital. The cold dawn breeze made her skin crawl, but she barely felt it. Her mind was racing, repeating Nathan's words like a disturbing mantra. I discovered everything. Since he answered her call, she couldn't stop thinking about what he had discovered. His voice on the phone had sounded different, cold, almost dangerous. Now, as she approached the reception, she saw Nathan leaning against one of the benches in the outdoor area, with his elbows resting on his knees, staring at the ground. Emma knew, at the moment she saw him, that something inside him had changed forever. Nathan. Her voice sounded low, hesitant. He slowly lifted his head. His gaze was dark, filled with an intensity that Emma had never seen before. "I need your help," he said straightforwardly. Emma felt a shiver. "What happened?" Nathan closed his eyes for a moment, took a deep breath, and then began to speak. He told her everything about his mother, about William Brown, about the agreement that separated him from Caleb. When he finished, Emma was paralyzed. She didn't know what to say. She didn't even know how to react. "My God," she whispered. Nathan leaned forward, his eyes fixed on her. "I can't leave it like this, Emma. I need to hear it from them. I need to know why." "Nathan," Emma hesitated. "Are you sure you want to get into this?" He let out a dry laugh. "Do you think I have a choice?" She swallowed hard. "And what if they don't want to talk to you?" Nathan was silent for a moment, and then he replied, cold, "They will want to." The way he said that sent a shiver down Emma's spine. Nathan wasn't going to ask for anything. He demanded answers. 2 hours later, Emma's car was speeding down the road. Nathan was in the passenger seat, motionless, gazing at the landscape passing by the window. Emma glanced at him quickly, trying to decipher what was going on in his mind, but his face was closed, expressionless. "You don't have to do this," she said, breaking the silence. Nathan didn't respond immediately. When he spoke, his voice came out low and firm. "I've spent my whole life not knowing who I am. Now that I've discovered, I can't just ignore it." Emma took a deep breath. She understood what he felt. She understood the hole that revelation had opened inside him, but still, something inside her said that this story hid much more than they were ready to face. "Have you thought about what you will say to them?" Nathan turned his face to her. "No, but I know what I want to say." Emma kept her eyes on the road, gripping the steering wheel firmly. "I hope you're prepared." He let out a short, humorless laugh. "I'm not." And then they fell silent again. Every kilometer brought them closer to the truth, and to what would come after it. Vasconcellos' family mansion. The iron gate rose before them, imposing and intimidating. Emma parked the car on the other side of the street and looked at Nathan. "Are you sure?" Nathan kept his eyes fixed on the house for a few seconds. Then, without saying anything, he opened the car door and got out. Emma tightened her grip on the steering wheel, held her breath, and did the same. They walked to the entrance, where a security guard looked them up and down. "Can we help?" Nathan took a deep breath. "I need to talk to William and Olivia." "Carter," the security guard raised an eyebrow. "And who should I announce?" Nathan held his gaze for a long time before answering. "Nathan Vasconcellos." The guard's reaction was immediate. The man tensed, as if unsure whether to laugh or panic. "Just a minute," he said, before walking away. Nathan and Emma exchanged a glance. "There's no turning back now," she whispered. Nathan nodded, his eyes fixed on the mansion door. His parents were on the other side, and in a few minutes they would finally know who he was. The silence between Emma and Nathan seemed to weigh tons as they waited. On the other side of the iron gates, the mansion of the Brown family loomed like a fortress, surrounded by perfectly trimmed gardens and huge windows, from which white curtains could be seen swaying with the morning breeze. Time seemed to drag. Nathan felt the pulse in his neck. His hands were cold, but not from fear, from anger. He didn't even realize he was holding his breath until Emma placed a hand on his arm. "If you want to give up, now is the time," she whispered. Nathan did not divert his eyes from the entrance of the mansion. "I won't give up." It was then that the security guard returned with an indecipherable expression. "Mr. William will receive you in the main room." William. Nathan felt a tightening in his chest. William Brown, the man who was supposed to be his father, the man who made the decision to keep him away, to erase him from the family history. He swallowed hard. "And Olivia?" Emma asked, unable to hide the tension in her voice. The security guard hesitated for a moment before answering. "Miss Olivia is not at home at the moment." Nathan exchanged a quick glance with Emma. "Then he will have to speak for both of us." The security guard nodded and led them into the property. With each step he took, Nathan felt the weight of the truth approaching, and nothing could prepare him for what was to come. As soon as they crossed the main door, Emma held her breath. The house was immense. A luxurious foyer stretched before them, with a huge crystal chandelier hanging from the ceiling. The furniture was made of solid wood, Persian rugs covered the immaculate floor, and every detail overflowed with wealth. But none of this impressed Nathan. He wasn't there to admire the house. He was there to settle accounts with his past. The security guard guided them to a large living room. In the center of the room, a man was sitting in a leather armchair holding a glass of whiskey. William Brown. His grey hair was impeccably slicked back. His suit, even indoors, seemed tailored. But what caught Nathan's attention were the man's eyes. Eyes that, in a way, resembled his own. William spun the glass in his hands, observing the amber liquid for a moment before finally lifting his gaze to Nathan. And then he smiled. But it wasn't a warm smile. It was an analyzing smile. "Nathan," William said, as if tasting the name for the first time. "I wondered when you would show up." Nathan's blood boiled. He knew. That bastard always knew. "So you were expecting this?" Nathan retorted, his voice colder than ever. William smirked and took a sip of whiskey before answering. "Let's say that I knew this day would come, but I confess I thought it would take longer." Nathan felt his fists clench at his sides. The calmness of that man was unbearable. "So, you're not surprised?" Emma interjected, her voice heavy with indignation. William shrugged. "Surprised? No." He looked at Nathan. "But I must admit, I'm curious. What exactly do you expect to find here, Nathan?" Nathan took a deep breath. He wanted to leap at that man's throat. He wanted to scream, demand answers, expose all his pain. But William Brown didn't deserve to see his anger, didn't deserve to know how much he had hurt him. Nathan gritted his teeth and stepped forward. "I want to know why," he said, his voice low but firm. "I want to know why I was erased from your life." William tilted his head slightly, as if enjoying the conversation. "I never erased you." Nathan laughed, but it was a bitter laugh. "You left me behind, chose one son and discarded the other as if I were a mistake." William set the glass on the coffee table and stood up slowly. He was tall, imposing, but Nathan did not back down. "Do you really think it was my choice?" William asked. Nathan felt his heart race. "What do you mean by that?" William put his hands in his pockets and sighed. "Nathan, you have the impression that I was the great villain of this story. But the truth is much more complex than that." Emma crossed her arms. "Then why don't you clarify things for us?" William looked at Emma for a moment, as if evaluating her. Then he turned his gaze back to Nathan and said something that made his blood run cold. "You think your mother was a victim, don't you?" Nathan felt his stomach churn. "What do you mean?" William stepped forward. "You think your mother was just an abandoned woman who raised you alone after I chose Caleb. But what if I told you that is not what happened?" The room seemed to spin for a moment. Nathan felt his breath falter. "What are you trying to say?" William narrowed his eyes. "Do you know why Olivia never looked for you? Do you know why she never wanted you to come back to this family?" Nathan remained silent, waiting for the answer. William sighed and then said, "Because she hated your mother." Emma's eyes widened. "Hated?" William nodded slowly. And she didn't just want your mother to stay away. She wanted you to stay away. Nathan felt his stomach flip. That doesn't make sense. William smirked. It doesn't? Then tell me, Nathan. If your mother really loved you so much, why didn't she ever tell you the truth? The silence that followed was deafening. Nathan felt anger rising within him. She wanted to protect me. William let out a dry laugh. Or maybe she knew that if you found out everything, you wouldn't forgive her. Nathan's mind was a storm. And then William finished. I'm not the only one who hides secrets, Nathan. Your mother has her own. Nathan's eyes burned, because deep down he knew that this was true, and now he could no longer run away. He had to uncover the whole truth, at any cost. The silence in the room was thick as smoke. Emma looked at Nathan, trying to decipher what was going on in his mind, but his face was still cold. William Brown stood there, watching the impact of his words. Nathan felt his heart beating hard against his chest. William's words echoed in his head. Maybe she knew that if you found out everything, you wouldn't forgive her. He didn't want to believe it. He wanted to. But something inside him was starting to crumble, because deep down, he knew his mother was hiding something. You are lying, Nathan said, his voice lower than he intended. William raised an eyebrow, crossing his arms. Am I? Nathan felt his fists clench. If Olivia really hated me that much, why did she never come looking for me to push me away for good? William let out a dry chuckle and sat back down in the armchair. Because I didn't let her. Nathan's stomach churned. What do you mean? William picked up the whiskey glass from the table and took a small sip before answering. I allowed you to leave because I knew that was the only way to protect you. Nathan took a step forward, his blood boiling. Protect? William kept his gaze fixed on him. Your mother thought she was escaping Olivia when she took you away. But in reality, it was the best thing she could have done. That doesn't make sense, Nathan almost shouted. William took a deep breath and leaned back in the armchair. Olivia didn't want you. To her, you were the mistake that needed to be erased. Emma held her breath. What you are saying is that Olivia wanted Nathan to be... She couldn't finish the sentence, but William understood. Yes, he answered simply. Emma brought a hand to her mouth, horrified. Nathan felt the world spin. He knew that Olivia never wanted him, but never, not even in his worst thoughts, did he imagine that the woman would be capable of wanting something so extreme. He felt his whole body shake. You are making this up. William tilted his head slightly. Am I? Then tell me, Nathan, why do you think your mother never let you know who I was? Nathan fell silent. Why did she never want you to get close to this family? Nathan took a deep breath, his mind spinning. Then William delivered the final blow. Because she knew that if you came back, you might not leave here alive. Nathan's heart stopped for a second. Emma let out a tremulous sigh. The silence was absolute. Then Nathan murmured, You are saying that my mother ran away because she thought Olivia was going to kill me? William held his gaze and replied, Yes. The room seemed to shrink around Nathan. Everything he knew, everything he had always believed, was crumbling before him. He felt his legs weaken, but he forced himself to stay standing. He looked at William, trying to find a lie in those eyes, but there was none, so he asked, And you? William frowned. What about me? Nathan felt the anger return. You let this happen. You accepted that your wife wanted to kill a baby. William gritted his teeth. I never said that, but you never stopped her. Nathan shouted, his voice reverberating through the room. William finally showed some emotion. He slammed the whiskey glass down on the table hard and stood up, facing Nathan eye to eye. You don't know what I did to try to prevent that. or from happening? It doesn't seem like you did much. William let out a long sigh, running his hand through his grey hair. Nathan, you have no idea what kind of woman Olivia is. And whose fault is that? Nathan spat the words. You chose to stand by her. You let her do whatever she wanted. William closed his eyes for a moment before murmuring, And you think I didn't pay for that? Nathan laughed, but it was a bitter laugh. Oh, you paid. How? Living in this $1 million house, sipping your imported whiskey while I grew up not knowing who I was? William looked at him seriously. I couldn't save you from the life. You had, but at least you had a life. Nathan felt his blood run cold. The anger burned inside him, but suddenly, a question arose in his mind. A question that made his heart race. He squinted at William. What happened to Olivia? William stood, still for a moment. Then he took a deep breath. She is not here. I know, the security guard said that, but where is she? William hesitated, and that was enough for Nathan to realize that something was very wrong there. Emma noticed it too. William, where is your wife? William's silence was disturbing. Then he said, Olivia has been missing for 3 months. Emma's eyes widened. Nathan blinked, stunned. What? William continued. She simply vanished, left one day and never returned. There are no travel records, nothing in the bank, no calls. She disappeared without a trace. Emma exchanged a quick look with Nathan. This didn't seem like a coincidence. Did the police investigate? Emma asked. William nodded. But they found nothing. There is no indication that anything happened to her. No trace. Nathan felt a chill run down his spine. Do you think she ran away? William was silent for a few seconds before answering. I think someone made her disappear. The room plunged into silence. Nathan felt his heart pounding so hard. It hurt. Who would do that? William sighed. If I knew, I wouldn't be so worried. Nathan exchanged a look with Emma, and in that moment, both knew they were dealing with something much bigger than they had imagined. Because somewhere, Olivia Carter was missing, and Nathan felt that this was just the beginning. The silence that settled in the room was suffocating. Emma looked at Nathan, who kept his eyes fixed on William. Olivia Carter's disappearance was a new element they had not anticipated. What do you mean she disappeared? Nathan broke the silence, his voice heavy with disbelief. William sighed, walking over to the bar in the corner of the room. He grabbed a bottle of whiskey, poured himself another glass, and took a sip before responding. Exactly as I said. 3 months ago, Olivia left home and never returned. No contact, no clues, no trace. She simply vanished. Emma crossed her arms. And the police didn't find anything. William let out a short, humorless laugh. The police did what they always do. Investigated the obvious places, checked security cameras, interrogated staff and acquaintances, but nothing concrete came up. Nathan was still trying to process that information. Olivia Carter had always been a powerful woman, influential, controlling. It was hard to imagine someone like her disappearing without a trace. And you? Nathan asked, his voice more restrained now. What do you think happened? William stared at him for a few seconds before answering. I think Olivia didn't disappear of her own volition. Emma's heart raced. Do you think someone did something to her? William nodded slowly. Yes. Nathan took a deep breath, trying to calm his own heart. And who would do that? William pressed his lips together, thoughtful. Your mother, perhaps. Nathan's world stopped. What? William held his gaze. I don't have proof, but it makes sense, doesn't it? Your mother spent all these years hiding you, running from this family. Now that you are about to discover everything, Olivia disappears. Nathan felt his blood boil. This is ridiculous. My mother wouldn't do that. William took another sip of whiskey, as if he had already anticipated that reaction. You think you know your mother, but are you sure you know everything she's done? The question hit him like a punch to the gut. Nathan felt Emma touch his arm, trying to calm him. But he didn't want to calm down. He wanted answers. Without saying anything more, he turned and left the room with firm steps. "Nathan!" Emma called, running after him. But he didn't stop, because at that moment there was only one person who could tell him the truth, and he was going to find her. 2 hours later, the confrontation. Nathan slammed the apartment door open, his heart hammering against his chest. His mother was in the kitchen stirring a kettle, and she jumped at her son's abrupt entrance. "Nathan?" She turned, alarmed. What happened? He walked quickly over to her, his eyes burning with anger and uncertainty. "Where is Olivia Carter?" His mother's face went completely pale. "What?" Nathan clenched his fists. "You heard. Where is she?" She blinked several times, trying to regain control. "I don't know what you're talking about." Nathan stepped closer. "Don't lie to me." His voice echoed through the apartment, causing his mother to instinctively back away. "Nathan," she murmured. "What happened?" He took a deep breath, trying to contain himself. "William told me everything. He said Olivia disappeared, that the police found nothing, and he thinks it was you." The woman's eyes widened in horror. "What?" Nathan watched her closely. "Then tell me, what do you know about her disappearance?" Nathan's mother put her hand to her mouth, visibly shaken. "I didn't do anything." "Then explain to me," Nathan demanded. "Why did she disappear? Who would do this to her?" She averted her gaze, her lips trembling, and at that moment Nathan knew she knew something. "What are you hiding from me?" She squeezed her eyes shut. Then she whispered, "I didn't do anything, but I know who did." Nathan's stomach twisted. Emma, who was watching the scene, held her breath. "Who?" Nathan asked, his voice now a bit lower. The woman glared at him, and for the first time since the beginning of this story, her eyes were full of fear. "Caleb." The ground disappeared beneath Nathan's feet. The air seemed to vanish. He blinked several times, thinking he had heard wrong. "What?" His mother swallowed hard. "Caleb." Emma put her hand to her chest, feeling the impact of those words. "But Caleb is dead." The woman closed her eyes and shook her head. "Maybe he died. But what if he didn't?" The world spun. Nathan felt his breath hitch. "No, Nathan," his mother whispered. "What if he wasn't dead?" The room plunged into chilling silence. Emma felt a shiver run down her spine. She looked at Nathan, but he seemed frozen, unable to process that information. Caleb was dead. He had to be dead, but what if he wasn't? What if Caleb was alive? What if he had returned to settle the score? And for the first time, Nathan felt something new take over his body. Fear. The silence in the apartment was so intense that Nathan could hear his own heart pounding in his chest. His mother's revelation echoed in his mind like thunder. Caleb. What if he isn't dead? That made no sense. It couldn't make sense. He looked at Emma, searching for some rational explanation for it, but all he saw was the shock written on her face. Do you have any idea what you are saying?" Nathan finally managed to speak, his voice coming out hoarse. His mother nodded slowly, her eyes wide, as if she was still struggling to believe her own theory. "I know how impossible this seems. But Nathan, think about it. Everything started happening after you found out the truth about who you are." Nathan ran a hand through his hair, feeling on the brink of collapse. "But how could that be possible? I saw the news. I read about the accident. Caleb died that day. You saw what they wanted you to see," his mother retorted. Emma finally found her voice. "Are you saying that Caleb might have faked his own death. Nathan's mother pressed her lips together, hesitant. I don't know for sure. But what if somehow he survived? What if all these years he has been hiding? Nathan felt his whole body tingle. If Caleb were alive, it meant he knew that Nathan existed. He knew what they did to him. And now, Olivia was missing. Nathan looked at his mother, his chest rising and falling rapidly. What are you hiding? She took a deep breath. I don't have proof, Nathan, but I always suspected that Caleb's accident wasn't an accident. Emma's eyes widened. What do you mean? The woman looked deeply at him, and her next phrase sent a chill down Nathan's spine. Olivia tried to erase you, so what would stop her from doing the same with Caleb? Nathan's world spun. Do you think that... I think Olivia Carter tried to kill both of her husband's children. Emma covered her mouth with her hand, incredulous. My God. Nathan felt his legs falter. But if this is true, then Caleb knows. His mother nodded. And if he know, it might have been him who made Olivia disappear. The silence was absolute. Emma felt a shiver run through her entire body. If Caleb was alive, then he was nearby. And if he was nearby, he could be watching. We have to get out of here, Emma whispered. Nathan blinked, trying to focus his thoughts. What? Think, Nathan. If Caleb is behind Olivia's disappearance, then he could be closer than we think. Nathan felt the air grow heavy. Suddenly, the sensation of being watched took over him. We need to find out the truth, now. The encounter night had already fallen when Nathan and Emma left the apartment and took the car. Nathan drove in silence, his mind racing. If Caleb were alive, where would he be? Emma, sitting in the passenger seat, bit her lip, thoughtful. If he is alive, he probably has a reason to come back now. Nathan tightened his grip on the steering wheel, and that reason involves Olivia's disappearance. And you, he glanced at her quickly. What do you mean? Emma sighed. What if Caleb doesn't just want revenge against Olivia? What if he wants to see you? Nathan felt a shiver. Why? Because you are the only family he has left. The car fell silent. That made sense, but then where would Caleb have gone? And it was at that moment that Nathan remembered. His heart raced. He slammed on the brakes. My God, he murmured. Emma looked at him, alarmed. What? Nathan looked ahead, feeling a chill run down his spine. I know where he is. Emma's eyes widened. Where? He swallowed hard before answering. At his grave. Caleb's grave, the only place where no one would think to look for him. The place that symbolized his death. Emma looked at Nathan, her heart racing. Nathan, are you sure? He nodded. If he's alive, if he knows everything, then that's where he would be. The cemetery, the place where Caleb had been buried, or where everyone believed he had been buried. Nathan looked at Emma. If I'm right, tonight will change everything. Emma took a deep breath. Then let's go. Nathan turned on the car again and accelerated. Now, everything depended on what they would find there, and he was ready to face the truth, even if it was terrifying. The silence inside the car was deafening. Emma looked out the window, watching the city lights fade away as Nathan sped down the dark road. The final destination was clear, the cemetery where Caleb was buried, or where everyone believed he had been buried. Every kilometer traveled made. Nathan's heart beat faster. If he was right, then the truth he would carry for the rest of his life was about to be revealed. Was Caleb alive? And if he was, what did he want? What had he done with Olivia? Emma looked at Nathan and noticed the grip of his fingers on the steering wheel. Are you ready for this? He let out a dry laugh. I don't know, but I can't run away anymore. She nodded and looked straight ahead again. They were close, and there was no turning back. The trees swayed gently with the night breeze as Nathan's car stopped in front of the rusted gates of the cemetery. This was the first time Nathan had set foot in that place. Until then, visiting Caleb's grave had never seemed necessary, but now everything had changed. They both got out of the car and walked through the gates. The dim light from the lampposts illuminated the path between the tombstones. The silence of the place was almost suffocating. Nathan felt every beat of his own heart as he walked to the exact spot where Caleb's grave should be. And then he stopped. The grave was there, exactly as in the photos from the time of the funeral. But something was different, very different. The flowers that had been left there recently were still fresh. They weren't old, as they should have been after so long. And then Nathan saw footprints in the damp soil around the tombstone. He exchanged a glance with Emma. Someone has been here. Emma felt a chill run down her spine. Or is still here. Before they could react, a noise came from behind them. Nathan turned quickly, his heart pounding, and then he saw him. A silhouette emerged from the shadows of the trees, walking slowly toward them. Every fiber of Nathan's body froze. The man approaching had his features, his face, his reflection. But it wasn't a mirror, it was Caleb, alive. Time stopped. Caleb stopped a few meters away from them, his eyes fixed on Nathan. And then, he smiled, I knew you would come. His voice was low but loaded with a terrifying certainty. Emma held Nathan's arm, but he didn't move. You are alive, Nathan murmured, as if still trying to convince himself. Caleb smirked slightly. I am, and you just proved that I was right. Right about what? Emma intervened, her voice trembling. Caleb kept his eyes on Nathan. About the fact that in the end, we were both always disposable. Nathan felt the anger rising. That's not true. Caleb tilted his head slightly. Isn't it? You grew up not knowing who you were. I grew up being the perfect son, the heir of the family, but cursed from the start. What happened to you? Nathan asked, his voice more firm. Caleb let out a sigh. What happened? He chuckled quietly. Olivia happened. Nathan's chest tightened. Caleb continued. On the day of my accident, I didn't lose control of the motorcycle alone. Someone tampered with the brakes. Emma's eyes widened. My God. Caleb nodded slowly. Yes, I shouldn't have survived, but I did. Nathan felt his breath grow heavy. And what happened next? Caleb averted his gaze for a moment. When I woke up, I was far away. Someone helped me escape, hid me. Who? Caleb smirked slightly. You already know. Nathan held his breath. Our mother. Caleb nodded. Yes, she found out what happened and got me out of there before Olivia could try again. Shock coursed through Nathan's body, so his mother always knew. She had always known that Caleb was alive and never told. And why now? Emma asked. Caleb looked at her for a moment before answering. Because Olivia needed to pay. Nathan felt a knot forming in his throat. Did you kill her? Caleb took a step forward. What do you think? Nathan held his gaze. I think you want me to believe that. Caleb smiled. Clever, but the truth. He leaned slightly forward. Is that I didn't have to. Emma felt a chill. What do you mean? Caleb took a deep breath. Olivia was desperate in the last few months. After the rumors about what happened to me started circulating, she freaked out, distanced herself from everything and everyone. William was almost sending her to be committed. He paused. Then one day she just disappeared. But how? Nathan asked. Caleb looked at him intensely. What happens when a powerful person like her loses control? Nathan understood and knew that Caleb was telling the truth. Olivia Carter was erased by someone more powerful than her, and no one would ever find her. The cycle was complete. Caleb took a step back. I just needed to know if you were strong enough to find the truth. Nathan took a deep breath. And now? Caleb smiled. Now, you can go on with your life, and I can go on with mine. Nathan looked at him for a long time, and then finally said, I am not you, Caleb. Caleb nodded. I know. And that's exactly why I needed to see you. The wind blew gently. Caleb turned and walked back into the shadows. Emma looked at Nathan, still incredulous about everything they had lived. What happens now? Nathan took a deep breath, feeling peace for the first time. He took Emma's hand and squeezed it. Now I choose my own path. And this time he knew exactly who he was. Nathan Vasconcelos. Not a secret, not a mistake, but someone who survived and who was finally free. The story of Nathan and Emma reminds us that the truth can be painful, but it is always liberating. And you, have you ever lived through a twist in your life that changed everything? Share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you thought of this thrilling story.